Oh, what's going on, guys? This is your boy like one half Endure. I'm back at it again with another video. Now, let's see how this goes. Um, this is a person who says they're gonna return their Switch. They bought the Switch 2 and return the Switch 2. So I'm gonna do counter and see this. Again, it's his preference. I don't care that this guy, retro future guy, is returning his Switch too. That's his preference. That's his choice. Don't care because again, I've said before, you don't have to buy a Switch 2. You have to buy a Switch 1. You don't have to buy Nintendo games and a lot of stuff like that. But I want to see. I'm doing this to see if it's a legitimate thing or is it how should I say? You know how gamers take stuff from other YouTubers and then whatever. Now he bought a Switch too, so he might have some valid reasons on certain things, and we might learn some stuff from this. Point taken. And I respectfully will be that. So I'm not harassing you, retro future guy. If you ever see this video, I'm not harassing you. I'm gonna refrain my sharp tongue like I normally do for when I hear stupid comments and be a little let this be a little bit of okay. But let's go with that and see what it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Retro Future Guide channel. I'm Kevin, and yeah, let me start by saying that this video probably could have and should have been out weeks ago to discuss the Nintendo Switch 2 for any prospective buyers. Maybe you've already made your purchase, but if you haven't, then perhaps my perspective will help you make your decision in one direction or other.
And maybe mine's is not my is not a perspective to like I said because my choice is you buy what you want to buy, it's your money. So just letting you know all of that. But let's see what he's saying.
Spoiler alert for my own video is that it's going back. Before
No.
we get started, do me a solid and hit like and subscribe on the video, even if you think that you might not share my actual opinion.
Yeah.
So this is not to make anyone feel bad about their purchase. If you got it and you love it, then more power to you. I don't consider myself necessarily representative of the vast majority of people out there, so there's a good probability that if you know what you're getting into, you're going to love it. If you caught my Switch 2 pre-release video that was titled I Have Concerns, I outlined a number of red flags that I saw, and yet I still picked it up. I wanted to give it a fair shake. I wanted to think that some of the things like the additional screen size, the faster processor, the experience, the nostalgia, all of those things were going to weigh out in favor of it. And if I'm being honest, there are a couple of games that I really, really wanted to play. And I hoped that those would be enough to make me do the mental gymnastics to justify holding on to the device.
Okay.
But after less than 2 weeks of owning it, I was ready to take it back.
Okay.
The
Take
only
it back.
reason I've actually held on to it this long is that I realized in the making of this video, if I needed some additional footage of it, I better have it for that. But as soon as I'm done with this, I'm reboxing the thing and taking it back to Costco. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to feel like a huge ass doing that, having
Yeah.
helped boost the Nintendo sales numbers only to then take the thing back and take it out of circulation for somebody else. So I really wish I hadn't done that, but
Hey.
live and learn.
Yeah.
From a
Live and
hardware
learn.
perspective, this thing is cool. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
The 8-inch diagonal screen is a massive improvement over the original,
Yeah.
despite the fact that it's LED. The original Switch one that I had was also LED. I never got the OLED version of it, nor did I know anyone who owned it. But having
Okay.
other OLED devices, I recognize that it's probably better, at least as far as like blacks go, and possibly just general richness of the colors. But I think that this thing is pretty phenomenal from a hardware perspective, and the Joy Cons are bigger and just detach and reattach magnetically with like a click that is just more satisfying than it has any right to be.
Okay.
The whole thing just looks and feels so much more premium than the original one did,
Yeah.
which
Correct.
always just felt like a plasticky toy. This feels like a quality unit,
Mm-hmm.
and well, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
From the beginning, I was a little surprised at the download speeds being as bad as they were. The original Switch always sucked for me, and
Not
so I was
really.
hoping I'd be pleasantly surprised with the second one.
And that's the one I gotta. That's what it depends on your internet, and it depends how you set up your switch. You gotta set up your switch a certain way, because I could tell you right now, and I've did a video about this already too. My Switch One was faster downloading games than my PlayStation 5. And I did it not a couple of times, testing everything, and I think Anderson and Trip could vouch for that too. Cause I was like, wait, why this thing is downloading so quicker than this? It's way faster. Now you have to get in there and do certain settings to make it fast. And I try to do the exact same thing with the PlayStation 5, and it still, again, it was slower. Now, point taken, and I think he's gonna bring it up. So I'm not gonna hate him for that, but you do need to, in any devices, like my phone device, whatever. I have AT&T fiber, and lucky for me, just being honest. So I'm 100, a gigabit up, gigabit down, and one of the things I have that is their app, and the app does do something to sync to certain devices, and they have like a helpers tool to make the devices run as fast as they can. So that's why I say you have to tweak and move and change stuff around in certain things. And the Switch is the same thing too. You have to the Switch 2 has a setting that you can change certain. Let me see, where is it? Let me again. I can't show you the screen because I'm using this, but let me go. I am on the Switch 2 right now. Where is it? Settings, and it should be internet. I'm thinking data, themes, location, systems, system update. No, where is it? Internet. Oh yeah, I thought so. Internet. Internet settings. Like I said, no, you can't see the screen, but hey, let me see Wi-Fi. Got that. Let's see change settings. Let me see something here. ISD password. Connect. I changed my MTU. You could change your MTU to a different number. I changed my, and they're gonna be different for every situation. You have to figure it out yourself. So I apologize that I can't, you know, say. I changed my MTU to 1500. So that helped my be as fast as it is, and I didn't then change my security to WPA personal. That's how I changed it on my device for the Switch One and the Switch Two. And again, I remember I was downloading Switch One and a PlayStation 5 game, and it was. And I'm not talking about the speed because Nintendo games are not as big as the PlayStation 5 game. That's not what I'm talking about. I was looking at the speed and the data packs, and the speed. The Switch Two was doing. The Switch One was doing at the time was doing what was it, up to 50 to 70 megabits per second, while the PlayStation was 20 megabits per second. And I was like, wait, what? Okay. And I started the Switch first, and then I did the PlayStation after, just to double check to see maybe if I started the Switch first, so you have it, boom, okay, so it's not like it's slowing down the Switch. Okay, let me flip it again. Let me start the PlayStation first, and then download the Switch after, and it was way different in my speed. I mean, heck, I got up to almost 100 megabits per second on my Switch One downloading the game, while the PlayStation jumped up to about 40 in the same time span. I was like, this, and that's just I was on the phone. I was on the phone and chat with Anderson and Trip, and I was like, this is crazy. How the heck my Switch is faster than the PlayStation? So just giving you that as a situation before we keep on going. You have to do that kind of due diligence. Let that go. Keep on going.
But it wasn't great. But this was launch day, and I figured that it was just with so many people hitting the servers, it was
True.
going to be slow.
Yeah.
It was better, but still not great after I plugged it into Ethernet. Again, launch day. So, not a fair criticism at that time.
Okay.
Also, it's my own fault for having downloaded everything onto my Switch 2 because I wanted it set up the way I was planning on
Ah.
keeping it, assuming that I kept the device. But even just to get through,
Okay. So on future help for people, so you download everything. So future help people, people who's watching this video, future, whoever's seen it, so we ain't got a Switch. And most of y'all have a Nintendo Switch 2 in most cases or whatever. See, I have not downloaded nada, zip, nada, zilch, nothing to my PlayStation, to my Switch 2. One, the reason why I didn't do that, and I did a video about this too, but the reason I didn't do it because I said I know a lot of people are gonna hit the servers. So it's like, I'll wait. I'm not in a rush. I don't need the Switch 2 to be a thing. And two, my Switch 2 still is not my main console to play with. I'm going to be honest with anybody. All I have on this Switch is four games. 4 games on there, plus the GameCube stuff since I came in GameCube pad. I have Tokyo Xanadu X and Plus, which is a physical game for the Switch 1 that I put in here. Mario Kart World exclusive. Road Redemption, the first downloaded game I have for the console. Altia Humana, which I had bought for the Switch, and that's it. That's all I got. I ain't got all my games on my Switch OLED over because while the way I'm saying on my Switch is this, and so people understand this. Any game that I started on my, because I got so much game for my Switch, ain't a joke. Any game that I have for my Switch 1 that I've already done started or whatever, I'm keeping on the OLED Switch and playing. And the OLED Switch is my main Switch. The Switch 2 is not my main Switch. I don't want there's a point to say, oh, do you want to make your Switch 2 your main Switch? No. I said no, didn't have to do it. So my Switch 2 is not my main Switch. My OLED Switch is my main Switch. And any game that's new, which is Tokyo Xanadu, I didn't play on an old Switch. I played on a new Switch. That I'm gonna play on the Switch 2. Altia Humana, I'm gonna play on the Switch 2. But something like how should I a game that I played. Let me see. Mario Brothers Ship. I'll play on the OLED Switch. I'm not gonna play it on the Switch 2. I'm not. I'm just doing that just to separate. That's how I'm doing it for now. I'm testing stuff to see how things are going because everybody get up over the whole, video card and key card and virtual card and all that stuff. So I'm testing out stuff. And sadly, I can't say I could put on my findings right now and then because I don't want to just do something now and then just say that's conclusive. No, I want to go a little further and figure out certain things further.
Mario Kart World, which is the first thing I started, took me just hours and hours. And again, like I said, it wasn't until I plugged it into Ethernet that things actually started to move. And then I found myself irritated by the fact that Nintendo essentially makes you assign what your primary device is. So you're kind of transferring ownership from the Switch 1
Not
over
really.
to the Switch 2.
You don't have to.
And again, maybe that is not a fair criticism for Nintendo
You don't
alone
have to.
because for the past couple of generations, it's similar to the way it's been on Sony PlayStations
Exactly.
and Microsoft
Thank
Xboxes. I think it's just the fact that I've gotten used to using a Steam Deck and I have my Steam library on like 5 different devices at any given time. And so long as I'm not trying to use those things simultaneously,
Yeah.
it doesn't care. I think what irks me
That's the point. You have a Switch and a Switch 2. You don't have to make it the main thing. You can have your Switch 2 as its own thing. The only reason you will want you could have created this is where I'm gonna disagree on again to be criticized. You could have created your own. You could create a new you call it a new profile. You could have said, okay, Liger01 on my Switch 1 and Liger02 on a Switch 2 and have it, and then you're going to worry about it. You can play the games all you want. Now, if you're a digital person, yes, you're going to, that's going to make it that you have to have that situation there if you want to play between that. And again, if you're gonna have your Switch One, excuse me, your Switch Two as your main Switch, then why would as your main Switch in the first place? If somebody's traded in their old Switch for the Switch Two, then you don't have this problem. If you have the old Switch and the new Switch, the only thing would, like I said, you want to keep everything to that, then make the Switch to your main Switch if you want, and then leave it alone. Or if you don't want to do that, just when you get to that problem, cancel it. Because again, my Switch OLED is my main Switch. I have a regular Switch, my first Switch I had, which I got 2017. I have a Switch Lite, and I have a Switch OLED. Those are the three Switches I have in a Switch One generation. My sister has a Switch OLED and a Switch One, and a original. That was the one that the Nintendo gifted us. She has that, and now she has a Switch 2. She chose to make her Switch 2 her main thing, and that's it. She still uses the Switch 1, her OLED. So again, is my thing is looking at it is as a customer is a choice. You choose where you want to make it that. If you have a Steam Deck, you only buy one Steam Deck. So you would not have a main account in a Steam Deck. You could put Steam on your PC and whatever, right? That's different platforms. So yeah, on your computer you will play that. On your laptop you'll have that. It's not tied to nothing. It's open, and you could do the same openness on the Switch consoles if you want. That's why I said at the beginning how to do it. But again, it's not a main. It's not. That's not a problem. But it's a preference. That's his preference. I'm just giving you alternate of what he's saying. That's all I'm saying. Not against him yet, but just saying certain points.
With Nintendo doing it is just that with portability being such a major draw to it, having to
Well, then the Steam Deck will be exactly the same thing then. If you only have one Steam Deck, it should be a problem.
connect to the internet to say, oh, okay, now this is my primary device, just seems like a pain in the ass.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. My Switch 2 is not. It's not. That's not how it works. My Switch 2 is not my main primary console, and I can still play games and do everything I need to do on the console. So what's the problem?
Let me just also take a second to say I'm not just saying, oh, you should get a Steam Deck, because
Good.
it's not that easy. It really depends on the kind of games that
Then
you
you play.
want to play
Yeah.
and what else, if anything, you want to be able to do with that device.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a large Steam library, but believe me when I say that I am entirely platform agnostic. I work on Macs, I work on Windows machines, occasionally I work on Linux machines. Once or twice a year, I switch between my iPhone and my Android devices, depending on what cool features have rolled out, or more frequently, which of the companies is pissing me off less. And I also
Okay.
switch between console gaming on my PS5 or my Xbox One or my Switch Original or my Android tablet. So on
Okay.
each of these, there are things that I love and hate, but I don't
There's no perfect thing out
love
there.
any
I've said
one
it multiple
platform
times.
or any one company
Yeah.
to the exclusion of the others.
Everything's a
So,
trade-off.
as much as this is going to sound like maybe a little bit ranty against Nintendo and the Switch 2, I think it's just my disappointment in it. I expected more than I felt like I was getting.
Which
But
is
so
what?
let's get to the
Yeah.
games.
Let's
The
listen.
only ones that I felt really compelled to purchase were Mario Kart World and Fast Fusion, which, for better or worse, those are both racing games. And I say for better or worse because usually when you get tired of one game, at least for myself, I'll say that I want to switch genres. I want to
Okay.
go from a racing game to a platformer or a puzzle
Okay.
game or a fighting game or a shooter. And so with the only two new games that I wanted to purchase, both being racing games, yeah, I probably didn't have quite as much of an appetite to just keep playing and playing and playing in a single session. So Mario Kart World is undoubtedly impressive, particularly visually. It looks like a Pixar movie come to life. It just exudes charm. It's a lot of fun, and I really liked it. And I
Mm-hmm.
played the heck out of it for about 2 hours and had gotten gold on every cup in the world tour. And
Yep.
then the credits were rolling. And
Okay.
then I went back in 150 cc's and 3-starred all of them, and that
Okay.
took another handful of hours.
Yeah.
Then I moved over to the Knockout Tour and knocked that out over the course of about 3 hours, and found myself not even wanting to try to go back to get 3 stars on every segment of every course,
Yeah, that would be a pain in
because
the
it
ass.
just felt so very luck based with whether or not you were going to get knocked out by a red or blue shell
Yeah, it
inches
is.
before the checkpoint line. And I
Oh, you
think
rage
that
quit.
part of that
Really?
is it's been a while since I've played the other Mario Kart games,
Oh, okay.
and maybe it was rose tinted glasses about what that experience used to be like. And I get it. It's they want some sort of parity between newcomers and people who are seasoned veterans, but it just felt like very difficult to feel like you were winning because of your skill versus largely luck in the final moments of any given course. I tried enough of the P-switch missions and the open world stuff and finding the peach coins to realize that gathering stickers was not going to be enough of a draw to keep
Respectfully,
on
I get
bringing me
that.
back. And again, this is where I don't think I'm representative of most people, but I am not a particularly social gamer. I do have social games that I play, a couple of them with friends, but I don't love jumping in with a bunch of randoms. So
Yeah,
again,
I agree
I
with you on
think
that
Mario
too.
Kart is just a very, or Mario Kart World is a very social game. And so I
You don't have to
recognize
be,
I'm not using it to
but
the
again, I'm not gonna
fullest.
knock us into
I
preference. That's not
just
an
think I
argument.
expected a little bit more single player content and longevity than I felt like I was getting out of it. And it's not to say that it won't have that in the future. It's entirely possible that
Yep.
Nintendo will roll out a ton of new tracks before they
Yeah.
inevitably start doing paid DLC. But as I got done with what there was to do inside of like a day or two, I just felt like this to me was not an $80 experience, which is what they're asking for that, unless you get it as a pack in with the unit. So then I tried Fast Fusion, which was a Wipeout styled indie racer. I think it's fair to call it indie, but it is only $15, and I think that it was a terrific value for the money. It was a great example of technically what the system could accomplish, and even
Hmm.
though it was bare bones, I felt like it was certainly worth the $15. It would have been worth twice that, frankly. But again, a couple hours in, I had pretty much seen and unlocked everything that there was to see. And at that point, all there is to do is to grind for additional ships that you can then fuse with other ships to make yourself theoretically faster and more powerful. But again, the rubber banding that was present on Mario Kart World is so strong that you never felt like you were really getting super skillful at it, more just getting lucky. But still, for the money, super solid game. Then
Okay.
games like Cyberpunk or Street Fighter 6, I would have loved to have had those, but the thing is, I already own them on the Steam Deck and I already own them on the PS5, and with one of those two games, there are particularly predatory microtransactions with the season passes and the fighter passes and the unlocking of colors and alternate costumes and all that kind
Yep.
of crap. And,
I'm
and
like,
guess what? It isn't Cyberpunk.
it's Street Fighter. We know that.
But yeah, I had no desire to actually feed that machine and
Good for
buy
you.
those a third time,
Yeah.
particularly when all reports were that they were slightly weaker versions of what I already owned twice.
No
Battery
problem.
life, yikes. My average on Mario Kart World and Fast Fusion was, I think, 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah. I would say
And
this. Yeah.
it wasn't a huge discrepancy between them. I actually thought that Fast Fusion was
Yeah.
going to
I would say
chew it
about
a
230s
lot
mines
faster.
because I don't put it
And
to
it
max
turned out that
brightness,
that was like 10 or 12 minutes less than Mario Kart World was.
and I use the
So I was
80%
pretty
thing.
surprised
So,
and
huh?
disappointed about that. And I get it that we're a decade away from anybody allowing you to swap out the battery. It's just a question of plugging in an external battery to get additional power. But again, that's like no great shakes to get 2 hours and 17 minutes. And you can absolutely find ways on other devices, whether that's the Steam Deck or the
Exactly.
GPD
I'm just
Win
gonna
Max
say.
2 that I have, to ratchet down the TDP to actually eke more power out of it over a longer period of time. Now, granted, I tend to like to have my screen on pretty bright, so your mileage may vary in terms of the battery longevity that you get, but I don't think it would be a lot more than that. And look, I knew battery life was going to take a hit with the larger screen and the higher resolution and the better processor. I just think that, again, when you've got a device that's supposed to be able to be portable, to have battery life that's that weak and arguably weaker than I had on the Switch 1, it's a pretty bitter pill, at least for me. If you were playing docked, I think that problem kind of goes away.
And I'll say this again: it's a some loss kind of situation. What you expect? You want a bigger screen, more colorful, more power processor. You think it's gonna run automatically like that? I guarantee you, a couple years from now, Nintendo gonna do an OLED version with maybe a better battery technology. We know they did it in the first one where they did the original Switch. Then they did the original Switch with a better technology because they figured out how to process things. The battery was a little bit different, and they figured out a processing system that was it didn't take that much power and still deliver. It takes a while. Technology is we at a point right now where technology is literally is going as fast as it can. It used to be leaps and bounds, but we're not doing that anymore. And the reason I said I'm saying this because we have China that owns most of the raw materials that we need to do stuff. They got Taiwan that could do most processing. They don't, like we want to. Before it was more open market. Now it's more game, more centralized. And with all stuff going the way it is, you cannot produce as much stuff as it is. I would say maybe in the future when TMC opens up a shop in a processing plant in America, that will help a little bit. And I know in Israel they have what is it? Intel is having a processor plant in Israel, which is again with all the stuff going on with the war is crazy. But hey, they're opening stuff. We need more. We need more processing chip plants, not just centralized over in Asia. Just need more around the world. That's what we need to broaden it open it more, so we have more chances to have thing. But for right now, the pipeline is very small, so that's why we don't got leaps and bounds. We are pushing edge at pushing edge. You want greater, faster technology. As you said, the Steam Deck doesn't have it. The Legion don't have it. The Ally don't have it. So let's not pretend that they have it. And they died quicker anyway. So just making sure people understand that.
Way. But for me, being able to take it wherever I want on a car or plane, take it into the backyard, like that's actually part of the draw, or would have been part of the draw. And so to feel like I needed to be tethered to a battery pack, again, was like another little strike against it. So now let's talk about the Joy-Cons. These are better. They're
Yes,
definitely better in a lot of
I
ways. They're
would say that.
larger, for one thing, although it doesn't make great use of that real estate when everything is so far over to one side. But I will say, like, the buttons on the top are much larger than they were.
Never played it. I never played. I barely played the game with the Joy-Con sideways, like how these people doing that. Some people doing that. Let's go for y'all. Not me. That's why I got a Pro Controller.
And the whole thing just feels better in size and weight and the click of it, that they're better. They're not great. And the thing is after 15 minutes of playing with the device in my hand, I just felt like my hands cramping in a way that they really don't do with the Steam Deck, just because of the ergonomics of those. It's very, very different between.
I give you that. Everybody's hands is different. It is hard to be a king of everybody. 15 minutes doesn't do nothing to my hand compared to you, as you just said. Mine is basically an hour, but I'm playing for hours, so yeah. And again, it's all about the weight and everything. So like I said, everybody's hands are different. That's just what it is. And shout out to SK.
I mean, he didn't like to play on the 3DS because the screen is so small together. But it didn't bother me because I grew up on the Game Boy Advance and SP and all those things. Small screen, small real estate. But hey, I grew up on that, so it didn't bother me. So this is not. Again. You can see I'm more respecting in what he's saying because again, my whole point was just to get a counter here and there. But he's gonna return the Switch. That's his prerogative. That's what he needs to do. Go ahead and do that.
I just ended up playing on the.
You could buy grips. There are grips out there. You could add to your Joy-Con and stuff like that to make you feel better. They got grips for the Steam Deck as well too because of the same thing. So again, everybody is a preference thing, and again, I don't want to make it hurt wrist problems or hand problems. So you figure out which one is comfortable if you want to play a game as it is.
Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, which I had also picked up. And while not a huge difference or upgrade over the Switch 1 Pro controller, it's really, really comfortable. And I like using this. I think it's a super premium feeling controller. I don't love the fact that what should be analog trigger buttons are just digital, which means when you're racing, you're either on the accelerator or the gas or you're off it. You're not halfway in between them because there's no pressure sensitivity.
I play a lot of racing games, and again, unless you are playing. No, I'm sorry. This is me. I'm a dick. Because because anybody who's playing Grand Theft Auto, Turismo, and Forza and stuff and love racing games, the real good people gonna mostly get some kind of wheel. The wheel attachment and all the stuff, sheriff pitch, whatever. But, and I get that. Are there a lot of games that's like that? Some y'all need to tell me because I don't see it. That one games like that. You have that. If you're good, you want to use the games and then have like shifting points. But again, some people are game enthusiasts and want that. So I get it. I don't. Like I said, I got good amount of racing games on my Switch 1 that I'm gonna use on the Switch 2 with the Switch 2 Pro controller, but maybe because just who I am, I get how to race with it. But yeah.
So that's a bit of a bummer about it. Also, the fact that you can't at least easily use this with any other device. You can't plug it into an Android phone or tablet. You can't plug it into an iPhone.
Not yet. It will happen sooner or later. But remember, this is couple. This is a couple dude. It's literally 2 weeks out. So yeah, come on, man. But anyway, yeah, 2 weeks. You wanted to do it like that? Nope. They will eventually. I can guarantee you that. Because again, I did not like the Switch 2 Pro controller. I'm gonna be honest with you. Not Switch 2, Switch 1. Sorry, Switch 1. I'm not a super fan of it. It's all right, but it's not. I like the Wii U Pro controller better. And what I did was I took the Wii U Pro controller and put it and attached it to the. I have a video about that, and Bluetooth connected to the Switch, and play my games and had fun. So yeah, it will be there sooner than there. But when it first came out, no, you're not gonna get that. I understand that part.
Phone, an iOS device, a PC. It really is just meant to be used for the Switch 2, which
makes sense because
maybe there will be a point at which drivers come out for it that unlock its potential with using it on other things. But I didn't think that the difference between the Switch 1 Pro controller and the Switch 2 Pro controller was worth an additional $85, which
I didn't pay $85 for mine, but I could tell you this again. If you don't have a Switch 1 Pro controller, get a Switch 2 Pro controller if you have a Switch 2. There's a day and difference for me. Maybe not for him, preference again, but for me. I like the way the sticks feel. It feels way better. I like the premium feel of the rubber plastic. The plastic rubber texture feels premium in your hand. Because it doesn't sweat in my hand. It's just like, oh my goodness, like if I'm tense and whatever, my hands don't get sweaty with that thing. And it just and I got good grip on it. I like that feeling. And the buns are bigger. And again, the sticks is so nice.
I think it was 75 at Costco where I bought it, but still, it was probably not worth that extra. I would say if you didn't have a Switch 1 and the Switch 2 was the one thing that you wanted, absolutely get a Pro controller with it. But if you already have the Switch 1 controller and are considering the Switch 2, I wouldn't bother. And then there's the
Yeah, if you don't have the money to go do that, don't do that. I'm with him. Don't bother with it. I have a Switch One controller. We have two of them here. Well, three, I should say, but we have two. And then but once I picked up that Switch Pro controller too, and put it in my hand, I'm like, oh, there's a big difference. Oh, I'm good. I'm happy.
dreaded stick drift, which I have not experienced, but apparently is still a thing. I have no idea how they managed to get from the first generation, with that being a problem, all the way through the life cycle of that device into the second version of this, and not either go to Hall effect sensors or some other improvement to keep stick drift from being a thing in the second one. But apparently there was a lesson to be learned that didn't get learned, or I don't know, whatever, the cost of replacing them was going to be less than just doing it right the first time. I don't know. Pretty lame. So the console is powerful, or powerful enough at launch that it's able to pull off things like a decent port of Cyberpunk because of the magic that CD Projekt Red have worked. And from everything I've seen, it's pretty good at launch time with the third-party ports. I think that'll become more challenging as the years progress, and remember, it's been 10 years since the last Switch. I think that as it gets on in its lifespan, the ports are, at least the AAA ports, are likely to get a little bit weaker in comparison to the versions that might be on the PS.
And I'll tell you this right now: if you like AAA gaming, I'm whatever that is, because I really don't care for that stuff. But if you want AAA gaming, or you are a third-party console person, do not buy this Nintendo Switch for no third-party ports and stuff like that. If you're gonna understand how it's gonna be key cards and all the situation, whatever, okay. Preference, customer, do your research, see if it's worth it. But if you're gonna buy it for that, don't buy a Switch console. Don't. I buy a Nintendo Switch 2 for Nintendo games. And the indie games that will get ported over, the ones that I do like. But as a EA game, or Ubisoft game, or whatever, Acclaim, I don't know, whatever other games the Capcom, no, I ain't doing that. That's a waste of money.
5 or other devices, because the processor's good. It's not great. It's certainly enough for Nintendo's first party stuff and the style that they usually apply, the aesthetic for their games. I think that for third party people, it'll take a little bit of hoop jumping to get that to a good place. The problem for me is that for $450 plus whatever the cost of the accessories are, plus $70 to $80 per game, at least for the first party ones
that I'm gonna own physically.
And let's be honest, probably then the third party ones would follow suit. I just think that it's a lot of money to spend on a very iterative device. Don't get me wrong. I think for the right person, the Switch 2 is an amazing console. If you love Nintendo's first party stuff, it's fantastic.
Yep.
If a Switch 2 is the primary, the only place that you play games, then you're going to love it. If you're not spending half your time comparing it to other devices you have, you're going to love it. And if you don't mind the prices being higher than they are elsewhere, then I think that there's a lot to love there. But it's not enough for me. It's too iterative. It's too evolutionary. It's not revolutionary. It's really, really good. It's part with that much money on this device. I needed it to be greater than I find it for my use cases. Also, the more I read about Nintendo doing things like bricking people's consoles for plugging,
which they've been doing since the Wii. Let me see. So say Nintendo owned games, correct? either single player console casual gamer or a serious multi console gamer. Okay, whatever. Are you a social gamer with friends on the Switch? God forbid. Yeah, yeah. You have friends. I'm not a social gamer per se, but I still like it anyway. You're at peace with the cost of ownership. Yeah, I am because I own my games. You're looking for a major jump from Gen 1. I mean, your games, all the videos you've seen on the internet of people saying the games are running better. That I would say, no, that whatever. The portability and owning your and Nintendo owned games aren't important. Okay, portability and you don't want Nintendo games, that makes sense. Portability makes sense to me again because it's no different from the daggone Steam Deck. It's so weird that this whatever. You don't want to support the rising cost of devices, services, games. You're already done doing that with the other games. What are you talking about? We are, sir. We done because you say you have a Steam library, you wait for Steam games, whatever. You don't own your games anyway, so it make no difference to me anyway. But what are you talking about? Most gamers with their DLCs and then live services and then action and then of course buy the games 5 days earlier, pay more money to just get play the game 5 days earlier, like all that nonsense. Please stop. Not whatever. And yes, again, let's see what you're gonna say about the bricking console because we already don't know. They already don't brick the console. Yes, they did.
In things that they shouldn't be, or having a username dictionary. It's really, really
Let me
good.
just
It's just not great.
let me
And
just see
for
here.
me to part with that much money on this device, I needed it to be greater than I find it for my use cases.
Even though you said you buy Apple, Android, all these other stuff, but again, a preference thing. I just laugh at the pettiness of certain things, but and I'm being petty myself too. So let's go into he said with the brick and console thing. They've been doing it from since the Wii. So
Also, the more I read about Nintendo doing things like bricking people's consoles
been doing
for
that.
plugging in things that they shouldn't be, or
Yeah, start plugging in pirated games. Why is that such a problem?
having a username that they don't approve of, that they will just out and out ban that console.
Can you have a username that doesn't be profanity laced and a childish? Oh my goodness, what? That's a problem? Really, man?
Irretrievably for you, I just think is so.
What the hell are you talking about? Seriously? A user? Maybe they don't want a username to be, racial and all that stuff. They have the right to do that, and I don't. And whatever. You want a device that you can tweak to your own heart's content, or well, then don't buy a Nintendo console. Shit, don't buy a PlayStation or Xbox console. Cause you know what? They do the exact same fucking thing. But nobody want to bring up that shit to them. They have brick consoles too. Jeez.
Weak.
And also, if you do something that's outside of the Steam guidelines, they will brick your console through your Steam Deck. Because without the games, you ain't gonna run your Steam Deck. Now, can you, as you just said, tweak and whatever, you could do that. And maybe as a PC, it'll work. But they have, if you do something that Steam Deck doesn't like, they will take away your library from you, and you get nada, nothing. You don't own nothing. There's been videos about this. You can go check out all your Reddit accounts and all the stuff of people who've done stupid stuff. And I'm not saying it's the Steam Deck is the fault of it either. It's mostly gamers doing dumb stuff and they're surprised. Don't put a pirated game in a Switch. God forbid. I don't know what happens when people just buy stuff up, buy stuff for the reason you buy it for. It's so weird. They'll be like, oh, well, they don't let you do what you're supposed to do. I bought a ceiling fan. What are you supposed to do? Just cool the house, cool the room I'm in. I own it. It does what I want it. That's why I bought it for one thing, though. That's all. I bought a mic to be a mic. Computer. I bought my microphone to be a microphone in my studio. In my studio. That's all I needed to do. Be a mic, and I hope it works good so I can get my voice over sounding good, whatever. I swear.
And these are all things that I knew about a month ago, and I still made the decision to go forward with the purchase. It's just that now,
But you still have a
several
Switch
weeks on,
One.
we've seen that Nintendo is going to exercise their ability to brick consoles or brick the software and effectively brick the console.
Yeah.
And
And the funny part again, a brick console means you can't. It doesn't mean you can't play the game. A brick console means you don't have access to Nintendo Online, so you could do. So you don't get updates and you won't play thing. You can still play games. You could still play games. You could still put a game in a game and it will work. So a brick console doesn't mean it's like a full brick. Like it's like you can't do not a thing with it. It me because I've done a video about this as well too about brick consoles, showing you that you still could play the game. It's just that you can't do online, so you can't do Mario Kart online. You can't do all that, but you can still play Mario Kart on the console. Nothing stop you from doing that.
that just sucks.
Which
Yeah,
is
so I
which is for me that I would consider that the best console. Just give me put it in the game, play the game. That's all it is. That's all I was wanting. That's why I came from the game of the old games. Take a game, put it in, good. Don't care about other stuff.
don't doubt that there is going to come a time, and perhaps soon, where there is such a strong roster of first party titles and third party either exclusives or ports that don't compromise themselves too terribly to come to the unit that are going to make it worthwhile to a lot of people, and maybe even to me again in the future.
Yep.
But I just realized that that is not right now.
Okay.
And there are a lot of things that I would rather spend that money on
All right.
than lining the Nintendo coffers. And
So Apple, Android, Sony, Microsoft. What's the bigger difference? Again, Kanoshi said it multiple times. Said it, and I get it like I'm not gonna be like, oh, corporate greed. Like, what the hell are Microsoft is? They're $1 trillion corporation. Same thing with Apple. They're $1 trillion corporation, and they don't have the same problems. Brother.
helping to justify the increased costs of the games. Anyway, I recognize that this has been a little all over the place,
Oh,
and it's
please.
partially
All the other
because
games was gonna be were
I
going up
fully
anyway.
intended to do a full-fledged deep
Like
dive.
I said again, I like the same thing I said with the dot in the video I released with the Xbox. Y'all hated Downmetric. I like Downmetric, not as a person, not as a prick or whatever, as a whatever as people think. He told the truth, and PlayStation lied to y'all, and that's why I was cool with that. Now the same thing y'all didn't want, always online, because I played a clip of the old president, for Sony. He was like, "Oh, you could play your games and you could share your games, and we would never ever do this." And then you go look at your PlayStation 5 now, which I have one. It does all the same shit as the PlayStation, as he said it ain't supposed to do. And he was the one, and I said that the reason I didn't like that prick, because he was the one who pushed the whole live services thing. The thing that, oh, we don't need games, we just need you to buy a game to get the best out of that game, we need you to pay more and more money off of it. So piss off.
Review on it rather than an opinion piece, which is what this has kind of turned
It
into.
is a opinion piece.
And then part of it was the further I got away from launch day, the more I realized that I just wasn't enjoying it, and I didn't really
Okay.
want to promote it or play it.
It's cool.
And the more I watched Nintending in the weeks after this thing launched, the less I wanted to be a part of it. So
Okay.
I recognize I'm probably not representative of most people,
You're
and
not,
a lot
but
of this
that's you.
probably had to do with the attitude that I went into this with, but truly, I wanted to love it. I wanted to be swayed, and
I always got weird when people say I wanted, like, why would I buy a console to try to prove me that why I like the console? I never get that. The same thing with cars, the same thing where people say, I bought this car, she wanted me to like it, and I'm like, no. I look at the car, see what it was, I liked it, I don't like it. That's why my simple phrase of if you like it, you buy it. You don't like it, don't buy it is very simple. I know what happened when I was gonna buy the car I was gonna buy, and it's so God blessedly, it's doing what it's thing. It lasted Going on 200,000 miles now, thank goodness. I had a car payment in years. Love that. And it drives, AC still working. Brakes is great. I take care of my car myself. So stuff like that. Like, yeah. I know what the one thing I wanted from my Switch 2 is to play Nintendo Switch games. They're gonna be on a cartridge. They're not gonna be on a key card. They're gonna be on a cartridge, the full game, and I'm gonna play it. That is all I wanted the Switch 2 for. I like that it's bigger. I like that it's brighter. I like it that it plays, that it's a little more ergonomic for my hands. I like all that stuff. But if the number one reason was because I could play Nintendo Switch games that's coming out. So that's easy. That's the simple part.
At this juncture, I'm just not. I reserve the right to change my mind again in the future, but now, at least for the next 3 to 6 months, I think I'm out. Anyway.
All right, and that's it. That's all it is. So again, it's a preference thing. That's his preference. Nothing against it. I get it. I just went attack to see how things are going, how to call this out. But yeah, we're seeing how this is, and happy to oblige and did this video. And again, don't buy Nintendo Switch 2 just because other people tell you to buy it. And if you like the guy said on the side, I'll say this: if you like Nintendo games, you buy it. If you don't like Nintendo games, don't buy it. If you want to wait until you get enough Nintendo games to come on there and you have a Switch 1, don't upgrade. Just wait. If you want to play a lot of your Switch 1 games and it work better, and that's a fault onto Nintendo, so I'll blame Nintendo on that. But if you want to play Echoes of Wisdom and all the other games, and it's not frame rate, messing up, whatever, get a Switch 2. That's the only simplest ways to do it. But if you see it and you don't like it, or you listen to all the Nintendo people saying, all the people on the YouTube, like, Nintendo's greedy, Nintendo's bad, Nintendo this, Nintendo that, and you don't want to buy it, go ahead, don't buy it. Live your life and don't buy it. Anyway, like I said, I just want to do this video, tat for tat, preference. This is a preference video just to see what it is. And I'll catch y'all next time. Remember, there's no perfect games out there. What's perfect to you is not perfect to me. What's perfect to me is not perfect to you. Simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC. Peace.
Let me know your opinion in the comments.